Okay, in Lawrence Public Schools, there are a lot of different initiatives occurring right now that are in line with board goals, which are also aligned with the state goals. So the first of the two that I'm going to highlight today is our social emotional education. So we in Lawrence Public Schools about 4 years ago began a partnership with KU and Arizona State University using the CI3T model, which is the comprehensive integrated three-tier system of support. So it's a different version of MTSS. And in this piece, you've got this triangle shows the model of support on this infographic, but you've got your behavioral, academic, and social needs. So academic is highlighted through using the data of state assessment scores, formative assessments, summative assessments, MAP assessments, any of those assessments, and even just general classroom materials or classroom assessments that relate to the standards-based grading card in the grade school. You've also got behavioral and social. And the behavioral is addressed through a behavioral matrix that every classroom has displayed. Each school was able to personalize it for their own. And this then allowed for data to be collected about the minors and majors of behavior infractions and be able to better record the data that was coming. It provided a consistent expectation matrix for all students and teachers to follow, and it also provided a consistent intervention list of interventions to be had at different levels of behavioral components to it. And lastly, it has a social component of implementing social skills curriculum. And this was highlighted that it was needed via some assessment scores and just even via some generalized data that teachers were experiencing through their personal time in the classroom. It became a state requirement, and so moving forward, CI3T had those pieces, so we moved forward with that. So the elementary school, we have positive actions, which is the social and emotional curriculum, and this is done at least 1 to 2 times a month, depending on the elementary, depends on the format that they use. Some elementary schools have small groups. Some elementary schools use it in their classroom. Some elementary schools do a combination of both. So there are a couple elementary schools that use the curriculum, teach the curriculum within the general classroom so that the students are being taught with the other students that are they're around every day. And then they have smaller groups that kind of highlight and are named after different mascots, and within those groups they have deeper conversations about it. What's unique about a lot of those groups is that they are made up of K through 5, 5th grade, kindergarten through 5th grade. And so by doing that, the 5th graders are able to help talk to the few kindergarteners that are in the group and kind of become role models in that situation. And the students are able to learn from one another in those smaller groups. So at the secondary level, there's Connect with Kids, which is the social emotional curriculum. And specifically in our middle schools, there's an advisory period that meets 4 times a week. It does not meet on Wednesdays. And in the advisory, there is specific curriculum set aside to help address social and emotional needs and even just general classroom behavior, classroom student skills that we feel as the state of Kansas, through Dr. Randy Watson's message, are key pieces such as being to class on time. Why is that important? Being prepared. And those pieces just are highlighted within that curriculum. So to be able to go forward with the social and emotional education, we have our model of support. We identify that 80% of our students typically will be in this green area. About 15% will be in the yellow, which is we need to start evaluating. And then 5 will be in the top level, 5%, which is those students are either already receiving interventions or need to be receiving interventions pretty quickly. To be able to determine those pieces, academic, it's fairly easy because you look at their assessment scores, you look at their classroom grades, or their course grades, and you're able to determine what kind of support is needed. Behavioral, same thing. It's a little bit easier to do those pieces because you have your minor and major infractions, you have your office referrals for the high schools, and so you're able to kind of track that data a little bit easier. So the trick became that, and the behavior piece is connected to these screeners these matrix, that every school has, and it's personalized to their school. They have to have 3 categories, and then so respect, responsibility, and best effort tend to be the most common. And then they have, what does that look like in the classroom? What does that look like in the hallway? What does that look like when attending a school activity? And so it outlines what those behaviors look like so the students are clearly aware of the expectations. But to be able to look at the social needs, there's a screener that teachers do 3 times a year in the fall, winter, and spring. And that data is then used to determine what additional interventions might be needed for the social component for those students to be able to be successful in the school. So this is an area we're still growing. Our elementaries are 1 year ahead of where our secondary schools are. They implemented a year before us. And so this is still a process of how to use that data and where it goes to. So right now we know where we want to go. We know where some of the gaps are, but we're not sure what's causing those gaps. So that's the process that we are in the looking at the data from the screeners through our social emotional curriculum. So the next piece that I want to highlight is academic component, which is the individual course study. This really begins in our middle school, 8th grade year in particular. However, the students are able to do an exploration wheel that they explore different pieces of different type of courses to see what they would be interested in the course pathways. And then they have career cruising, and career cruising allows them to take some material, take some questionnaires, fill out some questionnaires, and it kind of helps them provide what might be a potential career in the future for you. At the secondary school, so the high school specifically, we have career or course pathways that students are identified and placed into through their, they place themselves into it. And then there's also the College and Career Center, which is where our 11th and 12th graders can begin to take schools that are more specialized in technical education, focused on the career piece, more so than the college piece. So in 8th grade, all students use career cruising, take those courses, take those pieces, and determine which one, which career pathway might be beneficial to them. In that process, that can then carries with them through, they keep that login and they use that through their high school process of enrolling in classes. So once they take that, determine what career pathway might be of value to them, they then identify that pathway, which in our district we have 19 career pathways, but they're organized into 8 plans of study. So the career pathways that we have are animal science, plant systems, biochemistry, audio-visual communication technologies, visual arts, web and digital communications, business finance, business marketing, construction and design, manufacturing, automotive service, engineered and applied mathematics, information support and services, programming and software development, health science, restaurant and event management, education and training, family, community and consumer services, and government and public administration. So those are the 19 pathways that we offer. The students take generalized courses, and then they take their specialized courses with those pieces. So in the career pathway, they identify during enrollment time period and begin enrolling in the courses that they need to complete that pathway. They can, and that's their freshman year. Their sophomore year, there's a little bit of wiggle room to switch the pathway if they're finding that that pathway is not there. But by their junior and senior year, it's best if they just complete the pathway that they're going into. So we provide the requirements for each of the coursework or the course pathways for the students to look at in case there is a different course pathway than what career cruising identifies that they might be interested in doing. So this upcoming school year is our first year of individual plans of study. And so we're just getting started with these pieces, but we've laid some foundational work and kind of laid some expectations with the students, such as, by the time that you're in your junior, senior year, it's really hard to switch because your junior, senior year, you could be at the College and Career Center taking those technical courses. Some of those courses even offer certification so that you can walk out of high school with your certification as like a CNA or welding certification. Those pieces are present. So again, this is still an area of growth in Lawrence Public Schools, but it's an area that we have really taken to and really focused a lot of energy and effort on the last year, setting it into motion and getting the requirements set in place. So to be in line with the state standards, but also for what's best for students.